Under neon lights we take a stand. Knights and wizards across the land.
Spooky, 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 spooky. What's up, my spookophiles? It's your spooky guide, the OGGM Spooky, broadcasting from the spooky city of Fresno, Nevada, which doesn't exist. Why am I talking like this? Because we're looking at a game called Fear Itself. This is one of the many games that came in that huge Humble Bumble, 57 games for $40. This is Fear Itself by the Gumshoe people, who do not make shoes. Gumshoe is a game that came out. Really? Could you say something more obvious? I think originally it was a detective game, thus the name Gumshoe. Then they used the system for a couple other things. I remember there's a superhero game and a couple others. I don't really know a lot about it. I don't think I've ever played this system or any game using this system. So I'm going in here blind. Don't know anything about this other than this is a horror role-playing game. I don't really own any horror role-playing games because it's like my least favorite genre of the hobby. Not that I have any special negative feelings towards spookiness. I mean, it's Halloween. I've been trying to watch a horror movie every night. It's just I've never really played, in any horror games. And, the few times I have been actually scared at a role-playing scenario had nothing to do with the game or the system. In fact, I think I've said on several occasions that I don't think if you try and force scary, it works. Because then it just breaks down to make a saving throw versus fear. Oh no, you failed saving throw versus fear. Your character runs for 3 rounds, just like comedy. You can't force silly. You can't force comedy. You can't force scary. If scary is going to happen in your game, it happens naturally through a combination of how willing the players are to embrace the rules of the scary genre, how well you lay out the scenario. And even if you are a master storyteller of spookiness, it doesn't always guarantee they're going to be scared. And you have to be okay with the fact that if you run a scary scenario and nobody's scared by it, that's okay. You didn't do anything wrong. You can just learn from it and move on. So here's our cover. We've got dirt, and then we've got an eye hiding in the dirt. And then hiding in the eye are some spooky symbols. There's the triangle and a circle, and we can see the reflection of a cross. I don't know. Is this a photograph maybe? Or an altered photograph? I think this is a reference to the horror film Jeepers Creepers, or just guy hiding in the woods. I'm not sure. But yeah, I mean, human eyeball is one of the most disturbing images subconsciously. So they definitely know what they're trying to get. Let's see what it says on the back, what the character record sheet looks like. We're looking at... okay, so yeah, we got Gumshoe, Ocean Game, Pelgrim Press. It was $30. Fear Itself, 2nd edition, plunges ordinary people in a disturbing contemporary world of madness and violence, and inexorably drawn into the confrontation with creatures of the outer black, the realm of alien menace. GMs can recreate all the shudders and shocks of the horror genre at their table, whether they use the game's distinctive mythology or one of their own. Powered by Gumshoe, Fear Itself is an ideal for one-shot horror games. Oh, that's sad. Or ongoing campaigns in which the characters gradually discover more about the disturbing supernatural reality that hides in the shadows of the ordinary world. Whether they learn how to combat the darkness or spiral tragically into insanity and death. This sounds like a totally fun game. The expanded edition supports multiple different types of play, from bloody one-shots to extended investigation campaigns, which include advice for running an extended horror campaign. And then it's got stuff like scenarios. So here's the game. We're looking at 173 pages. We've got the different types of, here's the suggested campaigns, the circle, the mini-series, Glass Beach Summer, some more of the campaign, the Dispatchers, section on monsters, section on psychic powers, section on how to run a mystery, okay, how to design a mystery, the rules, how to play, character creation, credits, and then stuff like that. All right, so we get to character creation at page 9. I like to see that. I don't know anything about the system. Here's the credits. Here's the introduction. This Gumshoe has been used for other systems. It says here is using a system called the Exoterrorist. Knights Black Agents, I've heard of that one. Trial of Cthulhu. I know they did a superhero role-playing game, but I can't remember the name of it. How tabletop role-playing games works. Apparently, we're trying to install some subliminal horror with the pictures in the background. Like this is a bone saw. And that's, there's like tools and things in here. Using the book, the outer dark, the different types of running. How do you run a one-shot? How do you run a mirror series? How do you run a long campaign using this? Can you run a long campaign using horror? What are some examples? I mean, obviously movie trilogies, I guess, would be an example of a long campaign, sort of. Horror TV shows, X-Files, investigative, slight horror-ish, Tales from the Dark Side, stuff like that. X-rays of the human body, so trying to visually stimulate X-ray of a dissected dead animal. Yeah, all right, so we're looking at a very visceral, try and inspire images in your brain to trigger emotions through the rules. Don't know. That I see what they're trying to do. I don't know if that's a good choice. I don't want to read through the rule books and be like, I don't want to read this. It makes me scared or sick. How to use your investigative abilities. There are risk factors of why you can't run away. They draw you into the mystery and you lose stability if you don't investigate. So there's a punishment for not investigating. Interesting. So sort of a subliminal thing telling you that if you don't investigate, you start feeling bad. You start feeling wrong. Like you're just instinctively drawn to a situation you shouldn't go into, right? Because how many times have we, I know myself included, watched a horror scenario play out and yelled at them, right? I mean, I do it almost every day because I'm doing my September, October Halloween movies. And, I talked about how many times I yell when I'm watching Walking Dead. I hate Walking Dead because it's so cathartic to yell at them for over their stupidity. So putting in a mechanic that says, well, this is why they don't do what you think they should do, because there's this engine running underneath that sort of punishes them for not. See, I always thought it was the other way around, Once I started really questioning why they're so dumb, I was like, especially in the zombie genre, it's like maybe the virus affects their judgment, slowly eats away at rational thinking. So they make the mistakes that we, feeling we're rational people watching, go, why would you do that? Why would anybody do that? I talk about my favorite one from a series where they see a crashed airplane on a beach, and there's all the luggage just laid out in front of the crash of the airplane, right? And they go to the crash site and they look at all here, suitcases, boxes, chests. It's a smorgasbord of things that you could go through to look for materials and stuff to help you survive. There might even be some food, right? We don't know what's in those suitcases and boxes and stuff. You should open them. So instinctively, you would think, well, we'll open the ones that are closest. But no, every one of the character goes wandering off in a random direction, wandering as far away as possible from all the boxes and the suitcases are at the ground zero, knowing full well that if they wander off, there's nobody there to protect them if something bad happens, and they increasing the chances of something bad happening by wander off. And why would you wander off on the off chance there's a suitcase over there when you've got 20 suitcases right in front of you? But this game suggests that, well, subconsciously they're being punished if they do what's right. But if they do what's stupid, maybe they're subconsciously rewarded. Interesting. I never thought of it that way, but that could be the reverse of the way I look at it. Anyways, restrictions of concept. So we got some world building, wrist shots, safety tools. I think we need to stop calling them safety tools. Maybe that would be the first thing. Hiding and feeling. Abilities. All right. Ba-dam. All right. You get 60 points to purchase general abilities. Okay, it's a point-based system. You can also modify the points based upon how many players. So like if it's 2 players, they each get 16 points to build their 16 points. 3, so the more players, the less points, because we know groups tend to be stupider than an individual, right? How to spend the points. Some you can only get certain high. It says here that for investigative abilities, go through the list as a group, making sure you have all the abilities covered. Once you've chosen your abilities, spend your remaining points on your favorites. Unless you have an extremely passive reason to do so, don't put more than 3 points into any one investigative ability. Combat investigation types to spend an extra point or 2 on cop talk and investigation perceiver. For general abilities, spend 8 to 12 points each on health and stability. Pick 3 or 4 highlight abilities and spend around 8 points on each. Then spread around the remaining points among the abilities. When in doubt, invest in fleeing. Yes. You need to have at least 1 point in general abilities to make a roll. If you have no rating in general abilities, you automatically fail. You'll have to decide whether to spend your points thinly to cover all general abilities or to select a few weak spots in order to concentrate on other abilities. Automatically fail? No, I don't know if I want to. I don't know if I'm okay with automatically fail. Because you never know, right? Especially in the randomness of a dice system. But even in real life, you never know. I mean, sure, there's things that if you're not trained in them, they could be catastrophic, i.e., not knowing how to swim and being on a boat and that boat capsizes. You're probably going to automatic fail swimming. But you could pull a rose and find a doorknob to grab onto, right? And float. I don't know how to drive. But it doesn't mean I wouldn't get behind the wheel and try and, maybe I luck out. But let's keep going. Swap points. Oh, okay. So maybe you went, I don't want points in here. I want to swap them over here. But the rule says you had to put them here. Okay. So guys, I should probably state at this point, if it isn't obvious, these aren't reviews. I'm not reviewing the system. I'm taking my first impression of the system. Yeah. And then if you guys think this is something you want to see me go back and talk about again, then I'll go back more thoroughly and review it. But no, these aren't reviews. This is first impressions. This is, gut instinct at looking at a game for the very first time to decide, is this a game I'd want to buy or not? So these are our skill groupings: academic, blah, blah, humanities, languages, law, occult studies, research, social science, Trivia, that's an important one. Trivia can cover a lot of things that don't really fall into any other skill facts. Like trivia, I've watched a lot of medical dramas. I've watched every episode of House multiple times. So I have a general understanding of medicine, and law and other things that I picked up over the years. Does that mean I should be allowed to conduct an actual surgery? Probably not. But basic first aid between my actual first aid training, yeah. Trivia, I'm the king of pointless trivia. Interpersonal, they list the very first skill as bullshit detector. You knowing when someone is lying. Interesting choice because there's no other tongue-in-cheek reference to any other skills. All the other are pretty understandable, pretty generic. But these bullshit detector feels sort of unintentionally tongue-in-cheek. But yeah, then we have bureaucracy, cop talk. Well, that one also seemed flattery, flirting, impersonate, interrogate, intimidation, negation, resurgence, reassurance, streetwise. For somebody who regularly puts in whimsical references in his games, I appreciate putting whimsical references in the game, like calling something cop talk instead of something else. But it has to work within the genre and within the story. So is there more whimsical? Because the whimsical runs through all mine from beginning to end. If you've read any of my products, you know that there's a whimsical, there's a bit of silliness because I think the hobby is silly. And I like to remind people that at the end of the day, this is silly. Now I've been told I should need to stop doing that. It's sort of a downward from my game. Some of the reviews have said it gets a little too whimsical. I'm trying to cut down the whimsy, but yeah, it's always going to be there. But unlike this game where it's starting from the very beginning, this is a visceral, big, deep, horrible game. But here's some silliness. We'll see if it continues. And we got the technical skills and things like it's computer use. Outdoor survival? Was outdoor survival a technical skill? Or is it a different skill? Then just everything else. General skills. Driving, swimming, first aid, mechanics. Mechanics is more of a technical skill than outdoor survival, I would think. Cooking, the normal everyday stuff. Then when you fill out your character with some personal details, what makes them stable? What are their go-to, comfy things, whether it be a dog, a cat, a food, or whatever, Character building. What do they want? What do they fear? Why are they doing this? Why are they repeating? Why are you investigating this? It's dumb. Tips for players. Believe you must be successful. Find ways to be proactive when stuck. Look for information. Talk to people. Keep moving forward. Deputize yourself. Risk factors make you active. Think about the group. Embrace the mundane. Embrace flashbacks and directed scenes. That's another interesting one. How do you run a flashback that involves the other players? Well, I mean, a flashback should only be a few seconds, so I don't think it would really risk the flow of the game. Here we've got the infamous wall with red string. When did that start? Does anybody know when the wall with string trope you see all the time. Even in scenarios where it shouldn't be there, but it's now it's like the Wilhelm scream. It's just something that has become so ingrained that you've got to see the wall with red string. You've got to see, but when did it, when did the wall with red string first start? I mean, obviously it was probably some type of procedural drama, police or mystery, but God, it's just so ingrained, right? It's like you're so used to seeing it now, you almost like miss it if you don't see it. But you never question, like, really, is this house? The string and the wall and the pictures and the notes and the, where did that come from? Running away is not just feet. Oh God, there's one that I think needs to be important in any game, especially games where you run into things that are more powerful than you. Running away doesn't mean you lost. You can always come back once you're better equipped with either knowledge or gear. If a situation looks totally like unwinnable, run. But we won't get experience. Doesn't matter. Run. Again, with the visceral imagery, does this work? I mean, would you really want to keep picking this up every time you open it? Your eyes fall on something that just are sort of ingrained in, subconsciously disturbing, and that is obviously what they're trying to do here. I mean, this is blatant. Let's use this imagery because we know this imagery sparks certain unconscious emotions. And look at the motions here. We got gross body parts. We've got meat cleaver, but also we've got secret map, treasure map, and secret imagery hiding in the back. And there's probably more images hidden in here. And even though you're consciously maybe not seeing them, your brain, your subconscious is going, ooh, 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 ooh. So this was thought out. This was an intentional choice to generate certain imagery, and I appreciate that. I assume that would work in any genre, though obviously horror is very much driven by us, the passive audience. Horror only works if we invest in it. Horror only works if consciously or subconsciously we're reacting to the tropes in the way, like I've been watching a lot of scary movies because September, October. Thank you to the Soska twins for all the recommendations they've been posting for horror films. And some of them I've been totally, bothered by. And another one, I was like, oh, that was kind of fun. I found that clever. So it's all about investment. And then what resonates with you subconsciously, because you might look at something and go, I hate that. That's disgusting. I want to be as far away from that as possible. And then you might look at a completely different thing and go, that doesn't do anything for me. That doesn't bother me. But somebody else might look at the same thing and go, oh my God, that doesn't bother you? That totally freaks me out. So we don't know, what's going to trigger. God, I can't believe I used trigger. So it looks like they've really tried to understand that. And they're telling the story both visually with the book, but with also the narrative of how the game works and how to run this type of game, especially if you're running it further than a one-shot. And I don't know if I'd want to spend that much money on a game that's decided just to be a one-shot. I would need some type of continuing arc, right? And that's the trouble with horror games. It's another trouble with horror games is, well, what's my incentive to buy this game knowing full well I'm going to play it once and then my character's going to get eaten by a zombie? Obviously there are horror genres that you can run continuously. A zombie survival campaign would work. The Walking Dead, for every episode that's zombie-centric, there's 2 episodes that are about the humans and the world and the other humans. And, sometimes you don't see a zombie at all, or you only see a zombie peripherally. The X-Files, a Delta Green style campaign. You are cursed to collect the 13 Ghosts of Scooby-Doo type campaign. It can work. Obviously, it sort of feels like it's more of a one-shot genre. We've survived Camp Crystal Lake. Why would we ever go back? I survived my first night working at Freddy's, and look what happened. Why does that guy go back? Like somebody tried to explain, I've never played the games, and somebody tried to explain to me why the guy goes back, and the logic doesn't make sense. It's like, well, he didn't want to lose his job. Dude, if I saw what that guy saw the first night, I'd be like, I don't want to work here. I don't care. But I'm sure there's reasons, and you'd have to have reasons. And here's here's a skill system. Feels like we're not really talking about the game. We're started talking about, does this game work? And does this game supply me with the tools I would need to make it work? Would it be worth my money to buy a horror game if the very intrinsic nature of a horror game is it's a one-shot? Your character's either dead or insane or has learned enough to never want to mess with this stuff again. You know what? Next time I am calling the cops. I am not going to investigate it by myself. We shouldn't call the cops. You absolutely should call the cops. We shouldn't. We should split up. You should never split up. Skill system, suggested skills, what roles you need for them. Have we seen what kind of system this is yet? I don't think it matters. You can only make a test if you have non-zero rating in that general ability. I disagree with that. You can always try. Otherwise, the test automatically fails. It's the crashing airplane scenario, right? I mean, I've got 1,000 hours of Microsoft Flight Simulator scenario, right? If I'm the only one in the cockpit and the plane is crashing, I have absolutely no skill in plane piloting. I've never piloted a plane. Doesn't mean I'm not going to try. I will get in that cockpit, pull on things, and click buttons. If in any way, shape, or form that maybe prevents us from crashing. Probably won't, but I'll try. But you never know. I could roll a natural 20. What is this? What system is this? What do I actually roll? What kind of dice does this game use? I probably should look that up. I haven't seen that. I haven't seen a dice. I know it's a point-based system. There's a section on clues. There's a section on searching. Does this tell me what kind of dice this is? Does anybody know what dice system the Gumshoe system uses? I don't see any mention of a dice. Use them when rolling dice. What dice do I roll? Oh, okay. 6-sided dice. Spend any number of points from the relevant general ability. Roll an ordinary dice. Add the number of points spent to the number rolled on the dice. If the total is higher than the equal to the difficulty number set by the GM, you succeed. If it's lower than the difficulty number, it fails. Spend. Does that mean I can only use them a certain number of times? Page 36. Tests. Test occurs and the outcome of an ability is in doubt. So, you don't always have to make a test. But if it's a life or death stress situation, then yeah. DM should call for tests only when it's dramatically important. Yes. Most general ability uses should succeed unless it's a dramatically important scene for whether you succeed or fail. Like, you know how to bake. We're always going to know how to bake. You're never going to have to check for your baking if your character wants to bake, unless character can only make a test if they have a non-zero rating in that general ability. If it doesn't matter if the character has spent all the points in their pool, they can't add a roll as long as they have some aptitude in the ability. They can't make the test. Otherwise, the test, again, I don't like that. There should never be an automatic fail, an automatic succeed. The whole point of role-playing game is well, you can try. You can try. When we just talking about skill systems yesterday and the whole origin of a skill system and why, because sometimes just defaulting to intelligence isn't really enough. So the DM determines the difficulty number from 2 to 8. Player rolls a single-sided dice. If the result is equal or higher than the difficulty number, you succeed. Before rolling dice, the player may choose to spend any number of points from the relevant ability pool, adding these to the final dice. Players who forget to specify the number of points they want to spend before rolling are stuck with the automated result. In the game world, expenditure of pools of points in this way represents... All right, so what happens if I run out of points? I guess I can't roll anymore? The players are traveling in a van in a hot pursuit of a cultist in a stolen car. Lucy has just failed her driving test to keep control of the van as it goes skidding towards the edge of the wet mountain road. She spent 2 points from her driving pool on the attempt. To justify the retest, Lucy says she'll slam the brakes when she regains control, abandoning any chance of catching the car they're chasing. Now she must spend at least 3 driving points. Fortunately, she has 4 points left in her pool. What happens when I run out of points? You can piggyback, which means the group can work together. Cooperation, help rules. Okay. All right. So you spend points on a skill. All right. I got 3 points, and they use driving. So we'll use driving, right? I can choose to spend no points and risk it. I can choose to spend 1 to 3 points if I really want to succeed. But then what happens to the points? Does it something like does it explain how the points work? But I don't know if I like that. Regaining pool points. Okay. You have to go in the pool to regain the pool points. And the pool points. Whenever the PCs are able to create a temporary heaven for themselves in which they're free from danger and horror, they may refresh for 3 general abilities except for health and stability. They lose all refresh points in their supposed place of safety is penetrated. Short rest, long rest. Okay. The really long rest. The pool refreshes at a rate of 2 points per day. Each one has a different... stability and health have a different refresh rate than everything else. And you can only refresh a certain number. So short rest, you can only refresh a certain number of skills, and the rest, the health and the other one, the stability, need longer. And then you're still limited to how many skills you can use again. Oh, okay. So net gain, net loss. The longer things go, the less you're going to be able to rely on that skill because you're tired. You're so scared. All right, I've taken a break. I know I can refresh only 3 of my abilities. What are the 3 abilities I think I'm going to need to use to make it to the end of this scenario? Running, and since it's a horror scenario, I'm not going to put any points in awareness because we know characters get progressively stupider the longer the horror thing goes. And now apparently we know why. The world punishes them for being smart. Why don't I search the boxes? No, if you search the boxes, you'll lose a point. Oh, I can't search the box. That makes no sense. But okay. And then his animations. Let's see what the character record sheet looks like. Here's the character record sheet. Simple. And the index. Yeah. Player name, character concept, source of stability. I guess we write it in the health and the whatever. Where do I put the health and the thingy? So there's no stats. It's just abilities? I don't know. It feels like maybe it could have been explained a little bit better. Maybe you could have spent more time reading it. No, this is a no, but I don't see anything for stats. So I guess there are no stats. The character buildup is concept, restrictions on concept, how many points you get to build the character. Abilities are academic, interpersonal, technical, and general. So yeah, there's no stats. And then there's the stability and I guess the health. I mean, they'd mentioned health, so there's got to be health. I don't see health in here, but okay, whatever. Maybe hiding a little too much in how to build a character in the fluff. I think I would have liked the character building a little bit more direct. The art definitely does the picture, the accomplishes what it wants. Some of the ideas could be explained a little better, you know. But again, this isn't a review. It's just a first impressions. Like, would I buy this game? Would I play this game if somebody said they were running it? Would I run it if somebody said, dude, run a horror game? No, I would not buy this game. First, the imagery would just be like, I don't want to look at that every time I'm looking through a game rules. Second, be like, well, I'm never going to run this. I'm never going to play this. I'm not really interested in this genre. So why do I need it? And there's hundreds of other horror games that do the same thing, either better or worse. I know the Gumshoe system has been heralded as being really good. Maybe they just explain it better. They did mention that they have 2 other horror campaigns that they've made. So why make a third? Or maybe those 2 are very specific and the third is more just, here's a general horror rule. I think it just all breaks down to, does horror work as a continuous campaign? Like zombie survival works. Delta Green works. X-Files works. But does, Friday the 13th work as a continuous series? Does, how do I run that? How do I run a world where I don't have any special things other than I survived? I'm the final girl. Why should I, keep doing this? Why does Lori keep going back to deal with Michael? Why does what's-her-name keep messing with the Cenobites? You would think they'd stop. But for some reason, they keep going back. And this game postulates, well, the reason why they keep going back, because it's ingrained in the rules of the universe that if they don't go back, they actually feel punished. Like they're just subconsciously drawn to keep doing these stupid things over and over and over again, even though they know it could lead to their inevitable death or worse, as opposed to my explanation, which is we just get progressively stupider the longer we associate with this, which is kind of the same thing. I don't know. It's interesting. There are a lot of good ideas, a lot of things that made me go, oh, okay. I don't know how I feel about the actual system or lack thereof. I guess I understand some of the thinking behind the system. The longer things go, the progressively worse we get at it. Or in my case, the progressively stupider we get. Well, they took a break and didn't spend any points on common sense. So that's why they're making stupid choices like splitting up in the dark, not grabbing weapons, not opening boxes to look for supplies. Look at all these boxes. I'm going to go over there. Look at all these cars. I'm not going to check if any of them work. Ooh, there was a noise. way down there in this dark hallway. I should investigate. No, you shouldn't. But okay, you didn't spend any points after the last break on common sense. So sure, your character thinks it would be perfectly fine to walk down that dark hallway by themselves to investigate a spooky noise, even though the killer's still out there. But does that work as a campaign? Why would I keep going back? Unless, again, it's ingrained in the rules that if your character sort of almost is addicted. Placing yourself in these scenarios is sort of an addiction. You keep going back because you think you're the only one capable of handling it. Or you just can't not. You've sort of, I guess that's what they're trying to say. I don't know. Again, remember, these aren't reviews. These are just first impressions. This is just us walking into a game store, opening a book and going, do I want to buy this? And if you, the audience, appreciate that what I'm doing and you want me to go back and look at one of the games, then I will actually go through and read them instead of just making my pot-shot opinions like I did about the Cyberpunk. Thank you for calling that out, by the way, Daniel. Anyways, if you appreciate this content, let me know. If you never want to hear me do this ever again, let me know. If you haven't had a chance to like, share, and subscribe, please take a moment to do so. It helps me out immensely. Please considering supporting the OGGM. And there's various ways you can support me, all of them listed down below. You can donate to the Ko-Fi. You can use my affiliate link to get yourself a set of Only Crits dice, the only dice approved by Steve the Cat. And of course, the best way to support me is to head on over to DriveThru and to pick up either one of the games I've created. I've also just started a Patreon, if that's something that you're curious about. But it's specifically going to be for the building of my superhero role-playing game. We know that's not for everybody, but it is another great way to support the OGGM. Because remember, this is my job, and I need your money to feed the cat. Till next time, have a great day. Stay safe out there. It is Halloween spook.
Monsters lurking in the night. Heroes ready for the fight. Dice are clattering on the wood. Storylines misunderstood.